Hey everyone, let's dive right into today's explainer. On June 30th, Anthropic dropped a massive update, and honestly, it's a tale of two entirely different worlds. On one hand, you have this incredibly essential, highly anticipated developer update, and on the other, a high-stakes geopolitical thriller that literally had central banks on edge. We're going to unpack both of these wild developments today. We've got a lot of ground to cover. We're going to break down Claude Sonnet 5, dig into some tricky benchmarks and hidden costs, and map out the API changes you need to know. Then, we'll shift gears completely to unpack the Mythos cybersecurity drama and the massive fallout surrounding Fable 5 and global access. All right, let's kick things off with part 1. Enter Claude Sonnet 5, Anthropic's agentic workhorse. Let's start with the practical stuff you can use right away. Sonnet 5 is now widely available across the Anthropic API, Amazon Bedrock, and GitHub Copilot. And Anthropic's positioning here is really fascinating. You see, Sonnet 5 isn't replacing the Opus flagship model. Instead, it's being positioned as a highly reliable, mid-tier workhorse loaded with a massive 1 million token context window. It's essentially built to handle long-horizon coding tasks completely independently, which frees up Opus for your absolute heaviest reasoning workloads. The developer community is already going absolutely wild over this release. To quote one early user, we're seeing top-tier performance on coding and tool use at Sonnet pricing. I mean, just imagine a model that can independently investigate a bug, write a reproducing test, implement a durable fix, and verify it, all without you holding its hand. That's exactly what early access partners are reporting right now. It's a real game changer. But, as always, there's more to the story. Let's move to part 2, benchmarks and hidden costs, because you always have to read the fine print, right? On paper, the headline benchmark victories are stellar. Sonnet 5 strictly beats the older 4.6 model across the board. Take SweBench Pro, which tests real-world software engineering skills. It jumped from 58.1% to 63.2%. For general computer navigation on OS World, it hit 81.2%. And on Humanity's Last Exam, which is a benchmark specifically designed to be incredibly difficult for AI, it surged to 57.4%, practically breathing down the neck of the Opus flagship. But hold on a second, because your finance team is definitely going to want to hear this next part, 1.35x. Sonnet 5 uses the updated tokenizer that was introduced with Opus 4.7. In plain English, this tokenizer tax means that processing the exact same block of text can artificially inflate your token count by up to 35% compared to older models. So, naturally, it begs the question, does Sonnet 5 actually end up costing more than Opus? Well, surprisingly, yeah, it totally can. Because of this tokenizer tax, combined with a brand new extra high effort setting that spends way more tokens on reasoning, running Sonnet 5 on maximum settings can actually cost you more per task than running Opus 4.8 at standard pricing. Even though Sonnet's base per token price is lower, the sheer volume of tokens used at maximum effort completely flips the economics. Okay, moving on to part 3, API and behavior changes, and how you actually go about updating your codebase. The absolute most crucial thing right now is knowing how to update your codebase without breaking your apps in production, because Anthropic is forcing some hard structural changes here. First up, adaptive thinking is on by default. Second, manual extended thinking? Completely gone. Trying to use it will immediately throw a 400 error. And finally, you can no longer tweak sampling parameters like temperature or top_p. Those will also throw a 400 error. You have to rely entirely on your system prompt instructions to guide the model's behavior now. Thankfully, there is a very clear migration path for moving your legacy systems over today. Step 1, just update your model string to Claude Sonnet 5. Step 2, strip out all those temperature and sampling parameters. Step 3, remove any manual extended thinking parameters. And Step 4, and you really can't skip this one, recalculate your token budgets to account for that new 1.35x multiplier we talked about. All right, time for a hard pivot. Welcome to part 4, the Mythos cybersecurity drama. Are we looking at a new global threat? We are stepping entirely away from everyday developer APIs and looking at a completely different side of Anthropic's business. We're talking about a cybersecurity model so powerful it literally triggered emergency central bank meetings around the globe. Meet Claude Mythos. This is an unreleased Anthropic model specifically designed to find and exploit software vulnerabilities. Distributed securely through a consortium called Project Glasswing, you have to understand this isn't your friendly everyday coding assistant. It is a geopolitically sensitive weapon designed to probe every major operating system on the market. Just tracking the timeline of this thing reveals a completely chaotic spring. After a database leak on March 26th, the Project Glasswing preview was officially announced on April 7th. Then it came the absolute bombshell. By mid-April, Mozilla announced the model had independently found an astonishing 271 security vulnerabilities in Firefox alone. These immense automated hacking capabilities prompted immediate emergency briefings among the US Treasury, the Federal Reserve, and the European Central Bank. Global lenders were literally scrambling to assess the threat level. Which brings us to our fifth and final section, Fable 5, Global Access, and that massive export ban. All of this immense power and panic leads us straight into the wildly tumultuous rollout of Mithros's highly safeguarded sibling, Claude Fable 5. Anthropic developed Fable 5 specifically to ease those mounting global security concerns. It takes the underlying Mithros architecture and bakes in extended safeguards built explicitly to prevent cyber misuse. They were essentially attempting to offer a safer version alongside the much more potent Mithros preview. But the geopolitical tightrope these AI companies are walking right now is just unprecedented. Look at this whiplash sequence of events. Both models officially launched on June 9th. Just 3 days later, on June 12th, the U.S. government slapped a ban on all access for non-U.S. nationals over severe national security concerns. A massive scramble ensued. By June 26th, they managed to get partial U.S. access restored. And finally, on June 30th, the Department of Commerce fully lifted the export controls, allowing global access to resume. What a month, right? So we're going to wrap up on this incredibly important thought. As these frontier models become both our greatest digital defense and quite possibly our most potent potential threat, you really have to wonder if AI can outpace human hackers, finding hundreds of zero-day vulnerabilities in a matter of days. What does the future of cyber warfare and international regulation actually look like? How in the world will global regulations ever keep up with the pace of software? It's a lot to think about. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope it brought some clarity to an incredibly complex topic. Catch you next time.